Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sam, and in today's video, it's time to do my June reading wrap up. Now, we are like a third of the way into July, so it's definitely been a minute since I have read most of these books. So my memory of these books are not great, even though I have notes, so we'll see how this goes. June definitely didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. I was drowning in library holds and just did not get the reading done that I hoped or expected. So I did end up reading 10 books in June, which was pretty good. So starting out the month, I read Funny Story by Emily Henry, and I ended up rating this 3.5 stars. I feel like I had heard a lot about this book and had heard the at least like beginning plot of this book so many times that I expected a certain thing to happen in this book or expected this book to go a certain way, and it just wasn't really what I expected it to be. And so I just think that I went in with the wrong expectations, and that's why I just didn't love it that much. In this one, we're following Miles and Daphne, who were in previous relationships, and those relationships ended because their respective partners end up getting together. And so they're kind of in this forced proximity, end up just living together. I also didn't love Miles. He was kind of an ick for me. I just, from the very beginning, never really felt connected to him, and I didn't feel like there was much of a like relationship connection between them. I feel like there was a lot of subplots happening in this book and just not enough detail about what was actually happening with any of them, or like enough resolution. And then come to the end and it was very rushed because there's all these threads that needed to be tied up. I did relate to some of the things that were talked about and discussed in this book, but yeah, it just didn't hit the way that I thought it was going to with how I heard other people talking about this book. Next, I listened to Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tooley on audio, and I ended up giving this 2 stars. I had a very difficult time with this book, and I don't know if it was the book itself or if it was the narrators. It just took me a really long time to get into the story. And once we were really into the story, it was a lot of telling and not a lot of showing what was happening. And I find that when that happens in especially fantasy series, it's hard to root for the characters and hard to believe in the character's strength and training or any of the things that were just being told to us. Once we got about halfway through, it also started to get extremely predictable. I don't know, just the things that were happening in this book. I feel like we were supposed to feel a certain way about characters, or were being led to feel a certain way about characters, but I knew that they were super shady, and so I didn't trust anyone at all. And so it was kind of just frustrating waiting for everybody else to come to the same conclusion. This book also had different POV styles. Like our female main character was in first person, our male main character was in third person, and it was just very confusing and a weird listening experience. So, not the greatest start. Also, I hear a lot of people saying that this has like the best first line in a book. It didn't really hook me the way that I feel like it hooks other people and makes other people laugh. I don't know, maybe I'm just cynical. But yeah, unfortunately, this was a terrible start to the series for me personally. Then I was out of Spotify audiobook listening hours, so I jumped over to my Libby to see what was available now, and I ended up picking up Britney Spears' The Woman in Me and listened to this on audio. I feel like enjoyed is the wrong word, but I really enjoyed listening to this and having Britney Spears have her chance to share her story. I think the narrator did a very good job because Britney Spears did not narrate this book. I feel like the book was executed very well in terms of the like flow of story and the structure. Very short chapters, but overall it was very easy to follow. There was some points that I felt like I needed a bit more context to figure out the place in time that we were. But yeah, overall, very glad that I listened to this. I ended up rating it 4.5 stars. And for me, memoirs, biographies, or whatever, I'm reading them based on the like structure, not necessarily the content. But yeah, so much trauma. Just so glad that she was finally able to share her side. Next, I feel like I'm gonna get some flack for this one, but I read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez and I rated this 2 stars. This book did not agree with me. In this one, we're following Emma and Justin, and both of them seem to be cursed, where as soon as they break up with somebody, the next person that partner gets in a relationship with is their person, is their forever partner, whatever. Both of our characters are almost 30, and just the way that this was written in terms of like the dialogue and the actions that our characters are taking just felt so juvenile. It felt like they were 18 to 20, 21 instead of almost 30. And it didn't fit for me. I feel like there was also not much substance in this book. And I think I've found that with all of Abby Jimenez's books that I've read so far. There's talks about deeper themes, but not it doesn't like really delve into it, and we don't really get to see the characters like full emotions and experiences and growth of working through things, which is the same in this book. We get to the end and time has passed, and all of a sudden our characters are healed and have worked through all of this trauma, but we never got to see any of that. And again, that's just one of my least favorite things. So unfortunately, this really did not work for me. I thought it was interesting how all of the books in the series connected, but yeah, just unfortunately did not work for me. I do still want to read her other books. I just feel like she's an author that I would like or should like, but unfortunately, none of them have really worked for me. Then I went into The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and this ended up being a 4-star read for me. I love Rachel Gillig's writing. Her stories are so atmospheric, and I don't know how she does it. They're so spooky and gothic. I did find that this book had some very impactful quotes, and it was a very interesting plot and setting, and had some very witty, funny moments. But I couldn't help but comparing this to her One Dark Window duology, and I feel like there are a lot of similarities, and I do feel like I preferred that duology over this one. It just felt a bit more complex, but I did have a great time. I thought this was so. In this one, we're following Six, who is a diviner and like reads these omens through for people who come to this. I think it's like a chapel, sort of, after their 10 years of service, reading omens, being diviners. They're left to go into the real world, and so they're trying to have some experiences before they get there. And that's all I'm gonna say about that, but it was just very interesting, a very cool world, so atmospheric, and it was just a lot of fun. Next book I read was Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Rorich, and I ended up rating this 4.5 stars. I had a great time with this. I thought this was a lot of fun. In this one, we're following Scarlet, who is sort of like an assassin, and that's all I'm going to say about that one. There's a lot of questions and things that are revealed. I did really like how the world was being built and given to us in small chunks. And I have continued the series, so I'm finding this very difficult to explain because my feelings are still very fresh with book 2, but there's a lot of like secrets and explanations that are not being provided, and I feel like some of the conversations that we're having are very repetitive. Scarlet does have a very painful backstory, so that was very difficult to read, but I do feel like it was giving similar vibes that I had while I was reading Throne of Glass. Oh, spoiler, that has changed, but I'm curious to see where the story continues, where the series goes. because I think it has a lot of promise. So fingers crossed it's better, but like a fresh fantasy world. Next, I picked up Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. This is the sequel to Not in Love, and in this one, we're following the male main characters from Not in Love's sister, who travels to Italy for her brother's wedding. And there's some history between her and one of her brother's best friends, and we're learning about sort of what happened in the past, why there's some like animosity. But I ended up rating this 3.5 stars. I feel like our female main character was really just begging this guy to love her, and it was just kind of cringy. There were some really sweet parts. I really liked the backstory of, or like the past chapters of them like meeting and starting to become friends. And I also feel like the reason that they were never together was because of him, and we never got his POV or anything, so the explanation was really difficult to believe, or there wasn't enough substance, I guess, for me to really root for them or believe, yeah, I guess just believe their reasoning. I do feel like our two main characters had a good connection and their banter was great, but the relationship was just very fast and a little unbelievable. So next, I picked up Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I ended up rating this 4.5 stars. I personally really enjoyed this one. I thought it was very interesting. I loved seeing the entire backstory of Margaret and her family's life and seeing how lives can be so intertwined and how much of an impact Margaret's life happened and also resonated with Alice's life. Overall, how much other people can impact you. I thought it was just a very beautiful story. Alice and Hayden are both working to try to, I guess, win the rights to write Margaret's biography, and their banter was really funny together, but I feel like their relationship was very physical, very fast, and so I wanted a bit more from the ending with like how everything wrapped up. But overall, I just thought this was a very beautiful story. So next, I listened to Rule of the Aurora King by Anisha J. Tooley. This is book 2 in the Artifacts of Uranus series. And I liked this one a bit more than The Trial of the Sun Queen, and I ended up rating this 3 stars. We got more of the backstory of the world in this one, which was very interesting. I really liked getting more insight into the world and what was happening. I feel like Lore, which is our female main character, was just still so resistant to anything, and it was just so frustrating. And she was also giving like petulant child. Like I couldn't root for anything that she was doing. It was just, yeah, just like really frustrating unnecessarily. Overall, just felt like nothing was really happening. I also forgot to mention when I was talking about book 1, but for some reason I thought that this was a young adult series, and this got very physical very quickly. Wild. So that's like partly on me, but I don't remember hearing there was like so much spice in it, which I like spice, but just given the way that the characters were acting, it just felt very strange. And then the last book that I read in June was an arc that I got from NetGalley. This is one of the ones that were just like available now. So this is Well Actually by Maisie Eddings. And I ended up rating this 4.5 stars. It took me a bit to get into. I found that our female main character was very aggressive and like man-hatey just to be man-hatey. I do feel like this talked about very important topics surrounding women and feminism and like women in the workforce, but it was like unnecessarily aggressive at the same time for me personally. But I do feel like just the relationship in this was really cute, and he was just like really there for her, like very much like if he wanted to, he would. But I do wish that we got to see a bit more healing from our female main character. Like there was a hint of that, and I really wanted her to continue to explore that. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I did not want to put it down. But those are all the books that I read in June. I hope that wasn't too like chaotic. I don't remember a lot of my opinions about those. I need to get better about reviewing these. I just feel like it's been so long since I have sat down and filmed a video, so I'm like all over the place, but that's neither here or there. Let me know down below what your favorite book that you read this month, book that you didn't like that you read this month. I would love to chat with you. I really hope that you did enjoy this video. Please give it a like so that I know. I hope that you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.